This Hangout Air is on live. This Hangout on Air is live, not on live. On live would be that service that lets you game over the internet. Hey, we're going to be talking food today. Michael Wolf is here. How's it going?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I hope
give
we
you-
don't get Veronica GERD.
It's too late for that.
You can't give it to
You
me.
brought
I
it up.
already
You brought it up, Veronica.
I already got it. No, I have no shame in talking about my various issues.
You never have been one to. I don't feel like you overshare either, but you're not.
I try not to be gross.
Yeah, but
as much as
you're also
possible.
like, no, it's fine. It's true. It's
It's just
what
a thing that happens.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people suffer from these kinds of things, so they can relate.
Yeah, and it helps destigmatize it.
Oh, TV, as my girlfriend says, he sleeps on his side, and it works okay.
With the angle. Interesting.
With the angle. Maybe I'll try. Maybe I'll try propping myself up on more pillows on the side. Then I'll probably get a
More
neck kink like I did last time.
What happened to your last neck king?
Oh, I
Got deposed?
Yeah. Oh,
Lost it in the move?
yeah,
Bodega took it?
I am hungry. Now I'm hungry.
Well, let's have a show where we talk a lot about food.
Let's eat on the show.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
It fits the theme.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do for lunch.
I had a salad that I made and some smoked salmon for lunch.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
Quite tasty. You could eat my lunch that I had.
I don't like salmon. I don't really actually like fish.
You just want the protein, right?
You don't
I
even like smoked salmon, huh?
I'm
'Cause
really
some
a
people who don't like salmon like smoked salmon. But
I'm really more of a shrimpitarian.
okay,
That's the thing.
you're a
Or a
gambaronitarian.
lobstertarian, a crustacean-tarian.
Crustacean.
You're a shellfish-tarian.
Yeah.
You're a bottom feeder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My Jewish ancestors would not be amused, unfortunately.
Wow. Gravlax. So
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go. Let's get
Oh,
this
yeah. I should
rolling.
click on.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, okay. Good. Here we go. This is the Daily Tech News for Monday, July 11th, 2016. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, as she does most Tuesdays, Veronica Belmont, host of Sword and Laser, is with us. How's it going, Veronica?
Good, but it's Monday, Tom. You
Did I say
silly
Tuesday?
goose. You sure did.
I got the right person, at least.
You did.
That's important.
Thank you. I'm not Patrick Beja.
No, you're not Patrick Beja. It's not Tuesday. That will happen tomorrow. It is Monday. Why did I say Tuesday? It's not even written down. I can't blame anyone else. That just came out of my own head. But joining us this lovely Tuesday is Michael Wolf, host of the Smart Kitchen Show. I bet you didn't even know it was Tuesday.
No,
Michael.
I'm disoriented from all the Pokemon Go I played this weekend. Maybe you are too.
Did you play a bunch? Do you have
With my son, he was
Aha.
trying to show me what's going on. So
All right. Well, we've got a lot to talk about with Pokemon Go, so let's get right into the top stories. Analytics company SimilarWeb estimates Pokemon Go is installed on more U.S. Android devices than Tinder and is approaching Twitter, if it hasn't passed it already, in daily active users. Morgan Stanley's Mia Nagasaka told CNBC that Pokemon Go is estimated to have made between $3.9 and $4.9 million on its first day alone. So people are not only playing it, they're making in-app purchases. Game is out in Australia, New Zealand, and the United States. Imagine what's going to happen when it gets to Japan and other places around the world. There is some concern being expressed about the level of permissions that Pokemon Go asks you for if you log in using your Google account. The permissions are similar to Ingress, which is also made by Niantic Labs, but the application gets full permissions in some cases, and I've verified that it did this for me as well. I think Veronica did it for you too, right?
It has full permissions now, though I don't remember it asking me for those permissions.
I remember it asked me once, but I removed it and re-added it today, and it didn't ask me this time. The application, when it has full permission, can see and modify nearly all the information in your Google account. That would mean Google Docs, that would mean email, but it cannot change your password, delete your account, or pay with Google Wallet on your behalf. It does mean it gets access to location and camera and mic as well. What's interesting is the people who are saying they have installed it with minimum permissions say it still works. Because in Android, you can say, no, I don't want to give it permission. It just logs you back out, and then you have to log in again, and it works fine. So to me, it seems like this is just a sloppy integration. And one of my problems with Pokemon Go has been every time I want to go try it, I have to log in again. It never remembers my login. When I do, a majority of the time, the servers aren't available. And even if the server is available, then I have to walk 3 blocks, and I'm like, forget it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm having a ton. I'm pretty appalled by the level of quality of the app. It's not a good app. I mean, I think I can pretty much come out there and objectively say it. I think this is going to be a real test of the 2-week test, if you will, to see if people continue playing after a 2-week period or not. I think right now it's really running on the power of the Pokemon name more than anything else. The app is really fun to use, but its ability to work and function properly is very upsetting. I mean, I've had the same login issues you have. It logs me out probably 4 out of 5 times. It loses its connection to the database. It freezes. It crashed my phone completely yesterday and had to restart my phone entirely. There's been a lot of issues with that, and they have a lot of work to do. And I don't know if it's just because of the sheer number, the influx of people that they've had over the past week that's causing a lot of these issues, but it's not great. I mean, it's making me play less because of the uptime of the app just working in general. I'll be walking down the street and it'll just freeze, and I'll be like mid-Pokemon and I can't do anything about it. And then I lose the Pokemon, and that's going to be a problem for a lot of people.
My son's been playing pretty much nonstop since, and I agree with you. Like, I don't know if it's server issues or just bad design, probably maybe a combination of both, but if the kids are the test, the kids love it. And he hasn't played with Pokemon for years, and I think kids have maybe a higher tolerance for glitchy apps, especially free apps. And I took him to his grandparents today. He caught 5 Pokemon on the way over there.
It's really fun. I mean, I've been loving it. If it worked 100% of the time, I would be at obsession level, red at this point. I'm really enjoying the concept of it, and I love that it's getting people to get up and walk around. But Pokemon zombies are a thing, and they are obvious when you're walking down the street near a popular Pokestop. And it's pretty fascinating to watch this kind of thing totally sweep the nation right now.
Yeah, and like any of these things, if you are not having the problems logging in, which can happen just by randomness, you're going to think it's great. I don't understand why people are upset about it. Or if you're on the other end of that bell curve like I am, and it seems to happen every time you try to log in, then you're going to think it's awful. They'll probably work that stuff out, though, and it obviously is popular. I mean, businesses are saying, hey, we're a Pokestop. Come on in for free Wi-Fi and have a coffee. Other businesses are saying, this is for paying customers only. No Pokemon collected.
Pokemon for paying customers only.
Yeah. Fallon, Missouri, there was a report that police are watching potential burglaries start to be organized around people who aren't paying attention to Pokemon collectors. You hear a lot of people, there was that Darwin, Australia we mentioned last week, saying, hey, look both ways before you're crossing the street. People are starting to complain, hey, if there's blind people around you, keep your eyes out. They're not going to expect you to be stopping and moving around Pokemon style. There's all kinds of things being discussed about this because so many people are using it.
Yeah.
It seems like it's tapping into the early interest there was around geocaching among the young kids. It seems a little bit like the excitement around early Foursquare days when there's obviously some geolocation. But
this is exactly, I'm sorry, that is exactly what I said yesterday. I'm like, this is like the bastard child of Swarm, Foursquare, and geocaching. It just like the combination of those two.
But with augmented reality, it seems like the first maybe mass market augmented reality adoption, like in a weekend.
Yeah, well, it's Ingress, but with a massively popular IP attached to it, so that everyone born in the 80s and afterwards has this nostalgia around it, saying, oh my gosh, it's Pokemon. I grew up on Pokemon, and my dream was always to be able to actually go out in the world and catch Pokemon, and now I can.
Well, I don't know if you heard the story, but a Clefairy is holding court at the Westboro Baptist Church gym, and it is the biggest, most powerful Clefairy, and it is bright pink, and it is owning that spot. So, some good can come of it.
That's amazing. It is interesting to see all of these points. I wonder how much they expected this to happen, where these interest points get swarmed by so many people. It's a little bit of the spam effect. You don't need that many percentage of the population playing it to have a huge percentage uptick in the number of people visiting any one particular point. It's that they all have to go to that one particular point.
I've been meeting people in public. I've been chatting with strangers. Yeah. I've been like hanging out with people who never would have given me the time of day, or we just would have been two ships passing in the night.
Yeah,
and I think it's incredible. And yeah, there's going to be some dark things that come from it in terms of people getting their phones ripped off or coordinated robbery attempts around Pokestops. But at the same time, I think a lot of good of it will come. Good will come of it as well.
Yeah, it changes social behavior, so other social behaviors are going to adapt to it. That should not be much of a surprise.
All right, well, moving on away from the Pokemons just for a little bit, Consumer Reports has tested the Samsung Galaxy S7 Active's water resistance. The S7 is rated at IP68, meaning it should survive 30 minutes of submersion in up to 5 feet of water. In a tank of water pressurized to 2.12 pounds, the same as 5 feet, one phone's touchscreen died and showed green lines and had bubbles infiltrate the cameras. A second phone screen turned on and off every few seconds and had water in the camera lenses and SIM card slot. The phones would turn on after drying out, but the screens could not be read. The odd thing is that the regular S7 and S7 Edge passed Consumer Reports tests.
Yeah, the Active is the one that's supposed to be more rugged and more durable.
Right.
And it's the one not holding up as well, at least in these particular tests.
They tried too hard, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know. And I wonder how many people really... It is one of those things where, like, look, if you're telling me it's IP68, they should all work at IP68. So even if this isn't a representative sample, two of the phones, one of them certainly should have held up. So that's problematic. I don't know how many people were really going to rely on this working at up to 5 feet of water.
But if you're going to promote it, it should work. I mean, if that's going to be one of your features, it should work as expected. I mean, it's like, why say you have that ability if you don't actually have that ability?
Yeah, if you're going to have that certification, it should live up to it. Although Samsung says they haven't had a lot of consumer complaints, so it isn't in practice causing a problem, but that doesn't change the principle. Twitter has reached a deal with CBS to stream the network's coverage of the U.S. Democrat and Republican conventions. The Republican National Convention will take place in Cleveland, July 18th through the 21st. Democrats convene in Philadelphia, July 25th through the 28th. Twitter also sent a cease and desist to a site called PostGhost that was archiving deleted tweets by public figures. Twitter's API requires you to show tweets as they are shown on Twitter, and that includes respecting deletion. If you remember, there is a service called Politwoops that archives politicians' deleted tweets. They were originally cut off at the API and had to negotiate an agreement with Twitter to say, like, hey, it's in the public interest for politicians' tweets to be archived. Please let us do this. And now they do. PostGhost did not have any relationship with Twitter and was doing more than just politicians. They were doing celebrities as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see why that would be a slightly different use case. But I still believe that politicians' tweets should be properly archived. I think it's important for decision-making purposes. But moving on again, ZDNet's Mary Jo Foley notes Microsoft has updated its Skype bot developer platform. Bots can now take part in group conversations, and the bots can also use visual image cards, carousel cards, and receipt cards. Skype is also working with Bing to enable natural language understanding through Bing entity and intent detection. Other Microsoft Bot Framework updates this month include Skype calling, Slack buttons, and Facebook bot features. The framework is still in preview, but expected to be generally available by the end of calendar 2016.
More bots, man. The more bots, the better.
Yeah, there was all sorts of big news this past week. If you want to stay up to date, well, I mean, you should subscribe to my newsletter. That was not going to be a
hey, why not? It's endemic to the story.
Yeah.
It's
organic.
But VentureBeat is doing unbelievable bot coverage, and I probably get about 90% of my bot news over there. They're just killing it. But ZDNet also writing it up, so that's great to hear.
Did VentureBeat do the deep dive on Nadella's betting Microsoft's future on AI? I think so.
Right? Yeah,
that was a great piece.
Yeah, they've got like
detailed.
3 people working pretty regularly on bot stuff, and they're crushing it.
Yeah, Peter Wells was talking about that piece yesterday on the Day 6 episode.
Mm-hmm.
The significance of this is not so much what they did, but the continuing development, the 30,000 plus developers that are making bots on the Skype platform, and so the potential of what will eventually come out of there. I don't know if either one of you know of anything. I haven't heard of anything particularly on the Skype bot that's really catching people's attention, but it's still pretty early in the game.
Yeah, still waiting for that killer bot that kind of kicks everything forward in a big way, the big hit, as it were.
Yeah. Facebook has clarified its existing policy on live video after video of the aftermath of the shooting death of Philando Castile in Minnesota on July 7th. The video disappeared, if you remember, shortly afterward and then was restored. With regard to violent or graphic images, Facebook says, quote, context and degree are everything. As an example, Facebook said a video meant to raise awareness or perhaps find a shooter would be allowed, whereas a video mocking a victim or celebrating a shooting would not. Facebook says the team is on call at all times and will respond to even one complaint. A video can either be left up after a complaint, it can be removed after a complaint, or left up with a warning about the graphic nature of the content. It's up to that team to decide. And it's fair to note here, this is not a new policy for Facebook. This is Facebook clarifying this is our existing policy and this is how we intend to implement it.
Do we know, I mean, I guess we just don't really know what happened there yet in terms of who made that decision. And, you know, I think it must have just been a very quick decision made by someone who didn't necessarily know what was going on.
Why it disappeared briefly? Yeah.
Yeah, originally.
I've heard people say it may have been the police seizing the phone afterwards and pulling it down, but I don't know that there's any confirmation on that either.
Okay.
Was that policy in place, Tom, before they went to live? Because live's fairly new there, right? So
yeah, I think this policy went into place with live.
With live, okay.
But I don't have Facebook's confirmation on that, but I know it has existed for a while, and so that's my guess.
Got
it. And again, this is Facebook clarifying, saying, okay, this is what we're supposed to do in these situations. They're calling it a glitch that it disappeared, so that just kind of leaves it vague. But like you said, Veronica, it could have been somebody who misinterpreted the situation or overreacted. But this is the kind of video that, according to their existing policy, should be left up.
It's good to know. And, you know, this is all, it's all a learning process. People are figuring this stuff out in real time as we go. So it's to be expected that some flubs will happen for sure.
W. Scottus1 in the chat room says he saw a warning for graphic content on a Facebook video before live launch. So it may even pre-exist that.
Bloomberg reports Russian President Vladimir Putin pledged support for Hyperloop development during talks with Hyperloop One co-founder Shervin Pishevar at a forum in St. Petersburg last month. Presidential spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told Bloomberg the president, quote, promised state backing for implementing it. Russian freight tycoon, oh boy.
Zyavudin Magomedov.
Thank you.
Good job.
And the state's Russian Direct Investment Fund are investors in Hyperloop One. Russia is involved in study of several projects, including one in China and several around Moscow.
I butchered his name in Daily Tech headlines earlier today, so I've had time to practice. Yeah, it is interesting to see. Okay, you know, Hyperloop was sketched out by Elon Musk, and LA to San Francisco is used as the example, of course, because Silicon Valley. But it does seem that Russia is very interested in this, very interested in developing it. And because of its rocky negotiations and sanctions being put upon it by the West, is turning to China as an investment partner. It would be interesting if all of these plans ended up that a Chinese Hyperloop became the first to go into existence with Russian funding behind it.
Is this going to be like not the moon race? It's going to be the Hyperloop race?
The Hyperloop race, yeah. I mean, not quite as dramatic as getting off the planet, but pretty interesting technology to see if it could be made happen.
And overall, probably more lucrative.
Well, and we've gone, I don't know, I'm just sort of realizing this as we're talking about it. And Michael, I don't know how much you've covered this, but the conversation has certainly changed from, will this ever happen? Are these companies for real? To what deals are they talking to people about?
And when they're going to meet with the leaders of the biggest countries in the world, like to make these deals, like this isn't just nothing. This is like a pretty big effing deal.
And this may actually cause the leaders in the West to say, hey, well, maybe we should pay attention if they're out talking to Russia and China. So it could also be just a shrewd negotiating tactic.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't be a bad move on Hyperloop One's case to say like, hey, you know, we've got lots of interest if anybody else wants to get in on this. Because Hyperloop 1, as I like to point out regularly, there's the one that's testing in California and the one testing in Nevada. Hyperloop 1 is the one testing in Nevada, north of Las Vegas. Thanks to all those who participate in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. We had stories today from T-Glass1976, Motang, Steve I.O. Steve I.O. had a lot of them today, actually. Loki Roberts in there, Abatuela Condolce. You could be in there too, or your votes can help us decide what to put in our shows. Go to dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. That's a look at the top stories. Let's talk a little bit about the smart home, and particularly about kitchens. Michael, I was reading some of the links you sent over from smartkitchensummit.com, and the one that really caught me was retailers saying, you know what, we really like smart kitchen appliances because it turns out people actually buy them and keep them rather than returning them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I follow Smart Home a lot and followed the retail story, and it's largely been an abysmal story. You've seen guys like Staples launch their own smart home platforms and products, and they basically shut that down. You've seen companies like Wink come and go. So there's been a lot of turbulence at retail, but it seems as if, and I went and talked to a few retailers, Williams-Sonoma, Beta, Best Buy, they all like this idea of connected kitchen products. And the reason is a couple things. A, it brings for example, millennials into the kitchen, and also these are products that people are willing to buy and keep, even if they aren't using as much. They're willing to stick them in the in the drawers and try them out later. So the return rates tend to be lower, and companies like Target are jumping all in. They're rolling out Anova sous vide machines to 1,800 stores nationwide. So it's an interesting category.
I want the sous vide machine.
You haven't cooked sous vide yet?
No, I mean, I have had it before, but I've never had my own sous vide machine. So
my kids love my steak sandwiches. Like, I'm a hero with the steak sandwiches on those.
Well, and sous vide, for people who don't know, is a slower cooking in a lower temperature, but it's a bath of water. Mm-hmm. And I guess one of the things, Michael, that you need to pay attention to with sous vide is that temperature and make sure that it's consistent. And apps and connected devices certainly help you do that without having to stand there and look over it.
Yeah, it's part of this broader movement towards what people are calling precision cooking. This idea of sous vide, it's been a cooking technique that's been in professional kitchens for 20, 30 years. But back in the early 2000s, guys like Nathan Myhrvold, the former CTO of Microsoft, really started to pay attention. There was talk about it in foodie forums like eGullet. And what happened is he dived deep on it. He eventually published this book called Modernist Cuisine. But by then, all the foodies have kind of gotten on this sous vide train. Now what's interesting, though, everyone who was in that first movement around sous vide is looking at what's next. And there's guys looking at connected ovens, what I'm calling guided cooking systems, where you coordinate maybe a Bluetooth connected pan with an induction heating surface, and you have like an app to control the entire experience. There's a lot of innovation going on around cooking systems right now.
Yeah, tell us a little more. Let's talk a little more about guided cooking, because I think that's where it gets really interesting. I think most people think of smart kitchen appliances and they're like, all right, so I can control the blender with an app, or I can control the temperature of the pan with an app. So what? How does that actually help me? It seems like these can actually save you steps.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been some, like smart home, like, let's add Wi-Fi to this to see what happens type of products, like the Wemo Crockpot. I mean, they'll tell you that that didn't do great, do really well. But I was kind of convinced when I went to the Houseware show in Chicago in March, and I walked into the Heston booth, Heston Q, which is part of Meyer, big corporate cookware company, and they put me in front of their house chef, which is this guy's name is Philip Tessier. He helped the U.S. win the silver in basically the Olympics of cooking, the Bocuse d'Or. This guy is like one of the Michael Jordans of cooking. So he goes, cook fish for me. And so I was like super nervous. It's like playing basketball in front of Michael Jordan. But it was an amazing experience where I cooked with their guided cooking system. It had a connected pan and an app that did what I call visual guidance, or what they're kind of calling visual guidance, where you basically see how it's cooked, and you kind of see this level of doneness you want, and then you move on to the next step. It's a really coordinated system of sensors, cooking service, and app that just makes you cook better.
And if you're starting to cook, or if you don't cook frequently, that's one of the biggest frustrations is, reading a recipe and it says cook until done. And you're like, well, if I knew when it was done, I wouldn't need the recipe.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it could be this idea of using sensors. There are there's actually a lot of research going into, I guess, image recognition. There's a company that called Innit that is working with Whirlpool. There's also the June Oven, I think you've probably talked about before, that has a camera in it, and it can recognize the level of cook. It also can, pre-program and almost put the oven on autopilot. So we're getting out of this guided cooking a little bit and talking about ovens, but all these sensors and sensor-raised cameras are going into cooking devices and helping you cook along the way, and that's a really interesting development as well.
Well, and it's interesting that you mentioned Innit, because they seem to be an example of a company that you wouldn't think of as a smart kitchen company, but they are like the Microsoft Azure of this. They're providing
It's like a platform play.
Yeah.
It's a platform play, and it's funny. I follow them on social media, and I saw their two founders took a photo with the CEO of Google. And I thought, that's interesting. Like an odds maker in me thought, well, maybe the acquisition likelihood of them by Google went up like 25%, because they actually are kind of like a Google play, where they have this huge database of food and machine. They're actually programming machines. They're actually putting all the recipes in machine language, so it actually puts an oven on autopilot to cook things. So if Google ever made like a kitchen play, that would be like their play.
I love it, and I feel like we're kind of at the stage now too where we're getting a lot of different platforms or different systems, and we're having this problem all over with connected home type stuff, but there doesn't really feel like there's a standard in place right now.
Yeah, how you bridge these experiences from buying to prep to storage to cook, like that kind of needs connective tissue, and we're probably still early in this game. So I think what's doing well now are these point products like a sous vide cooking machine or stuff like that, where it's just like one part of the process. But I think you're right, Veronica, connecting all these things together, making them work well, I think, and that's like the smart home, right? We're kind of looking for that as well in the smart home.
Yeah, and I can see a pathway where if retailers are saying, well, we're going to stock more smart kitchen items because we don't get the returns on them, that's great. That means there's more smart kitchen items out there being sold to the consumer. Consumers are more likely to try them out. More of them are available in the house, and that is the tipping point for a smart home platform to be able to take off, is enough people have them that you can get more people building on the platform. How close do you think we are to that?
I think it's I think it's going to take some time. I think the guys like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, they're excited about this category. I think that smart home guys are actually looking at this category as maybe another way to kind of bring people into the smart home fold. But what I'm excited about with this idea of technology in the kitchen, it's enabling new ways to do things. I'm really excited because I backed Pico Brew on Kickstarter, and like, my wife said, no way you're going to create this homebrew mess in my house, but they're actually making like almost like a coffee maker size appliance to do home brewing. So I'm super excited. They're about to ship. And so like, whether it's homebrew or doing new ways of cooking, there's like all sorts of new ways and new types of food that I can maybe approach through technology that were largely unapproachable before.
I absolutely want this vision where you've got some platform that has the data of the recipes. You have some system, whether it's a refrigerator or some other system, that knows what ingredients I have, and then it can say, here are the recipes you can make today, or here's a few things you can pick up at the store that we'll order for you on Amazon or whatever to be delivered. And then all you have to do is sit down and say, okay, I want to make this fish cassoulet, and it tells you just what to do. Like, all right, pull the fish out and put it in the chopper, and then take it out of the chopper and put it in the pan. Or maybe you don't even have to do that. Maybe it'll get robotic, but it just really eases you along through all the procedures.
Yeah, I think Veronica, you mentioned Paprika. I've used Yumly. All these like cooking and recipe and discovery apps. They're all really excited about connecting to the hardware, to where they kind of can guide the experience. But also, you talked, Tom, about shopping. Like, so this almost idea of anticipatory delivery of food to your house. I've done Blue Apron. I like this idea. I think you back Tabala, but this idea of like the hardware, you do your meal planning for the week or for the day. Maybe that day or the next day, your food is delivered with all the ingredients to make it. I can see that happening. I just think it's going to take a while to get there. And I think that's an expensive infrastructure to build. I do want to talk about the Juicero, because I know Veronica hates the idea. So it's like this controversial idea of the $700 cold press juicer.
Yeah.
Yes, people either love the idea or hate it.
Well, first of all, I think people are a little too obsessed with the idea of juicing in
Yeah, yeah.
general. I think just from a health standpoint, and this is just my own personal opinion, so don't take this as fact. But I think juicing takes a lot of the good stuff, like the fiber, out of the vegetables we're supposed to be eating, and there's a lot of sugar left behind. So I juice occasionally. We have a juicer.
Yeah.
We have the Omega juicer, the Wirecutter recommended like juicer that people buy. But I'm unhappy with Juicero because the juice packets are still expensive, and they're DRM'd. So like if you get a Juicero, you can only use the Juicero packets for the rest of your lifespan of using this product. And I don't know, that kind of stuff. I'm not a Keurig fan. I'm not that kind of product fan typically. So I like the idea of what they're doing and trying to make people have access to easy juice drinking. But the product itself, I think, is just problematic.
Well, it's a fascinating story because this guy, they raised $110 million to build out an entire delivery system, and they actually had to create a plan to put the stuff in Keurig pods or whatever the pods are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a fascinating story. You're right about the DRM. The way they explain that is there's only a 5 or 6 day shelf life on these pods, and for them, if it goes bad, they don't want you. They'll actually stop you from actually pressing that juice.
Yeah,
that makes sense to a certain degree, but also probably a little bit of protecting their investment so the clones don't come in.
Yeah, it's a happy side effect of managing spoilage that it protects their investment, right? They probably don't mind too much at all. But I think that's the biggest problem with this is those kinds of systems are processing food. It's a different way,
right?
But I love the idea of our earlier scenario simply because if what you're saying could happen where it knows what ingredients you need to make your meal for the next day, those ingredients can be super fresh and delivered right to your door rather than sitting in a warehouse and having to be managed for 3 to 5 days.
The juice tastes pretty good, though. I'm not trying to be a fanboy.
All right,
Tastes
that's
good.
good to know.
But I agree with you. I mean, there is a level of processing there. I do like this idea of moving all the kind of the processing to the endpoints in the home, embracing fresh food. And I think that's part of this movement. I think technology enables that over time. But there is like a cost to time, and I probably wouldn't put the time into juicing unless someone actually made it really easy for me. So this is something, if it was cheaper, I would consider. The
juicing is not easy, and it's kind of a messy process. But what I love about having the Omega juicer is that I can juice anything in my fridge, anything that's like, not that appealing looking anymore necessarily. Like the juice will still be fine. So like it's a good way of kind of clearing out the fridge of your CSA box from that week or your leftover groceries.
Apple's got a few spots on it. Just
juice
that.
Juice it. It's like put a bird on it. Just juice it.
Absolutely. Well, awesome. I think we've solved the smart kitchen now.
It's all done.
Yeah. Excellent. You can, and we'll talk about this a little more, but you can check out smartkitchensummit.com if you want to find some of Michael's works on this, and he writes for Forbes and elsewhere as well. Let's get to our pick of the day. Somebody asked if we could check in on Eero, EERO.com. That is the mesh networking Wi-Fi access point system. There's another one called Luma that's out there as well. There's several of these now. Google has its own project as well. But what they do is they try to improve the coverage by manipulating how the signal works. And in Eero's case, you get a pack of 3 is the most advantageous, and then you use them to cover your house. I have 2 levels in my house, so I had to put one downstairs so it was close enough to the main router that I could hook it up. And then that one connects upstairs to an office, and then that one connects to another one on the other side of the house and kind of provides blanket coverage on the other side. None of them are line of sight. That is one of the things they recommended, is make them line of sight. I'm like, too many doors, too many walls. Sorry, can't make them line of sight. But they do work. And the one thing I would say, originally, they provided me better coverage of the house than my previous Wi-Fi access point did. Because they were able to cover more area, even if they went offline a little more often. And I would have to I'd go to the app and do a speed test, and that would seem to push them into reconnecting. Or I might have to turn off the Wi-Fi on my laptop and turn it back on because it wasn't handling the handoff between the different points very well. But lately, I have not had to do that at all. And that is the other advantage to systems like Luma, or in this case, Eero, is that they learn over time what works and what doesn't in your particular geography, and have some software that adapts to that.
It was amazing to me that Sonos was doing mesh and doing it so well for so long, and people are just now figuring out this idea of mesh Wi-Fi in the home. I'm glad Eero and Loom have jumped on board this. I expect the large router makers to also get in and do these systems. The Securify Almond router, they just sponsored Almond 3, and they actually are going to come out with a 3-pack that is essentially a mesh networking 3-pack. So it's good to hear your feedback. I've played with a lot of repeaters that don't work very well.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to try these mesh network systems.
Repeaters never worked for me. I just ended up having 2 access points because that worked better than repeaters. Veronica, you're using the Eero, though. What's your experience?
Yeah, aside from a little bit of setup issues, everything's been working really well. I can report no issues at the time of recording.
That's great. So, and it's been good right from the beginning. Were you able to get a line of sight, though? I wondered if that helped.
Not in every room. Yeah, not in every room.
Okay.
As far as I know. Ryan set it up. But yeah, I think so. Cool. There's one in here right now.
I want Ryan to do a support call on it.
It's watching it right now. Yeah, let's not ever do that again.
Maybe not such a good idea. Well, there you go, folks. That's one of my picks. Send your picks to feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com, and you can find more picks at dailytechnewsshow.com, picks/picks. Veronica, would you kick us off with the first message of the day?
Oh, sure, yes. Let's see here. Message of the day. This one comes from Carl. He says, "Hi, Carl from sunny Stockholm here, chiming in about the discussion on e-voting in episode 2805. My biggest problem with e-voting is the right to vote for what you want without someone else knowing. With e-voting, you could have an oppressive husband, for example, that stands behind you and pressure you to vote for the right party. I don't know how you could get around that problem. Thanks for the great show." That's a good point. I guess if you're voting at home, you don't have the protection of being in your own voting booth somewhere else. It's like it feels on the surface as being more private because you're in your own home, but potentially you're actually dealing with less privacy because your family members or whoever else are around you at that time.
And I vote by mail. Ever since California made that an option that you could just do, I have automatically voted by mail, and I love that because I love the privacy of being home. I sit there with my laptop. I research anything I don't know. I feel like a more informed voter, but I hadn't considered that aspect of it. Thankfully, my wife does not loom over me and try to tell me who to vote for, nor do I her either. But yeah, if you suddenly made it where everyone was e-voting at home, that could be an issue. So that might be an argument to say, well, let's still provide polling places for people.
Yeah, having the option.
Internet adoption is still not 100%. So what do they say for people without connectivity?
Yeah, you're going to have to provide an option for them in any case, right? Because connectivity isn't 100%, and it won't be for quite a long time. Judy wrote in and said, "I'm senior to Senior Geek Gary by almost a decade, and I also read most of my news online. I read the local paper, get alerts from the LA Times, use Google Alerts to pull in any news about relatives or special interest topics like forest fires, Fukushima. The Kindle Fire browser has a reader view for most web pages, so it's far easier to read online than print news with its smudgy ink. Audiobooks include a subscription to an audio version of the New York Times, so I often listen to that. I also get a variety of podcasts from the BBC and Late Night Live from Australia, like a lot of Americans who like to see the U.S. as others see us. I've also set up a Twitter list to get info from various sources like Maddow, Sanders and Trump, Robert Reich, Hans Rosling, etc. I don't know how many senior geeks are out here, but on thinking about it, I wonder if seniors in living facilities have guaranteed internet access rights. Being condemned to daytime TV seems like cruel and unusual punishment. I'll bet nobody thinks to add that to the Medicare or Medicaid for patients." I definitely have some firsthand thoughts on this because my mom lives in an assisted living situation, did not want to go through the trouble she would have had to do to get internet. It would have either had to been dial-up or it would have been very costly to try to run in because there was no internet provided by the place. So we finally got her a phone. And now she uses an iPhone, loves it, uses it for the internet like crazy. In fact, she has an 8 gigabyte a month plan because she doesn't have Wi-Fi where she is. So she uses all of her internet over the phone.
Good for her.
Well, yeah, good for her, but also bad for the bottom line because I'm paying for it. So yeah, I think there needs to be more attention paid to like how do we encourage internet to be rolled out to these kinds of places. No answers? Okay, fine.
No.
I love technology and applying that to elder care and kind of older people as they get home. You know, I look at the smart home, and there's some really interesting stuff going on around using smart home technology to enable people to stay in their homes longer. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually excited about technology for older folks for things like that. So.
Well, that is it for this episode of Daily Tech News Show. Veronica Belmont, thank you as always. Anything to let folks know about?
You can subscribe to my newsletter. It's subscribe to my newsletter. It's pinned to my Twitter account at the very top at twitter.com/Veronica.
And you're covering bots on the newsletter, correct?
Yes, it is I should have clarified that. It is a bot newsletter.
Yeah, get the latest on bots, man. It's good stuff. Michael Wolf, of the many things you've got going on, what do you want to tell folks about?
Well, we have a podcast about the future of the kitchen called the Smart Kitchen Show. You can find it on iTunes or at Smart Kitchen Summit, where we're actually having an event in October. I'm having guys like Nathan Myhrvold, Charlie Kindle from Amazon, and so if you want to hear about that stuff. I'm talking to Sam Cass, who used to be the Obama personal chef. This week you can hear that podcast, so check it out.
smartkitchensummit.com/show. And, of course, Smart Kitchen Summit. If you want to find out more about that, just go to smartkitchensummit.com. Thanks to everybody who supports the show. We couldn't do it without you. If you're listening without supporting the show yet, we ask you to maybe reconsider that, even if it's just leaving us a review on iTunes. But if you can spare $1 a month, you can go to dailytechnewsshow.com/support and maybe spend something in our store, sign up to give us something on PayPal, or if you want to help us on an ongoing basis, patreon.com/DTNS allows you to pledge at different levels. Some of them give you business cards so you can show people you're a co-executive producer. We give you all kinds of early inside information about what the show is doing. And at our top analyst level, you get access to a Slack full of other listeners who are sharing their expertise in there. That's patreon.com/DTNS. A reminder that every Saturday, Mike Range sums up the week's tech news in a blog post. It's written at dailytechnewsshow.com, and it's really funny. It makes me laugh with his different perspective on the stuff we've talked about. In honor of a year of doing it, though, he is now taking his book from 2015, where he collected all of his columns from 2015, and selling it at 99 cents. So go to Amazon.com, look for The Internet is Like a Snowblower, or we'll have a link in the show notes at dailytechnewsshow.com. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 51259-DAILY. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. More Pokemon discussions coming tomorrow with Patrick Beja and Lamar Wilson. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
That was a fun show. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Good
the last time I was on,
stuff.
we had a guy drawing a picture of our podcast.
Oh, yeah, he's on Fridays. That's Len.
That was fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Good episode.
Hey, thanks, Roger.
Everyone, no one brought up the replicators from Star Trek.
Oh, you know what? I was about to mention that. I was even going to give you a shout out to say you were mentioning that before, and then I got distracted.
But let's go into the more important task of titles.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one I like the most is actually trending at number 5 is DRM, Digital Recipe Management. Pretty fun. It's followed by Chatting with Strangers.
That's number 1 now.
Internet of Wings.
Wings.
Wings. Pokemon for paying customers only. Hot Tub Food Machine. Sounds kind of gross.
Nice.
Too many guided cooks.
That's
played
funny.
off
I
the
get
too many
that.
cooks.
I
meme.
get
Yeah.
that.
I get it.
I
Yeah.
get it. I get it.
Putin his approval on Hyperloop. Millennials in the kitchen. Wait, I have a short question. So, Michael, are your kids in grade school or?
My kids are my son's going into 9th grade. My daughter's going into 7th. So I'm right in the middle of like my hair's graying. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, just wondering, do they still teach home ec in school?
I don't think so.
Because that's kind of where I learned how to cook.
You know what my kids do? And this is like why I'm like they love Tasty. Like they find recipes on Tasty and they cook. They're like my son's cooking 2-3 dinners a night for us.
Kidding. Wow.
A week, not a
Not
night.
a night. That would be a lot.
He loves it. 2 dinners a night.
We're getting so fat, but they're so good.
But I like it because he's kind of a computer. Like he plays Call of Duty. He loves video games. Like with the kitchen, you're physically making things.
Yeah,
like you're becoming kind of a maker in a way, right? So
That's really cool. Does he stream on Twitch? Because they have all the cooking now.
they do, don't they? Yeah, no, he doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
I've been telling him I actually do video games on Twitch, but he hasn't.
He can do both.
Would you guys prefer Drinkable Millennium Copyright Act? Sorry, not to.
Oh, back to the titles.
Back to
I'm actually good with digital recipe management. I think that's great.
Okay, cool.
Although I do like the Drinkable. Shout out to that. That's a good one too.
Yeah. Honorable mention.
Because it's one of the weird things. Like when I was in high school, I had my English class with one of my classmates, and she did not know how to cook. And I was explaining to her how to make an omelet, and she tried it like 3 times, and she said, "My dad told me never to go to the kitchen again."
I don't even know if they have shop anymore. I went to school and they had like shop. You went in the dude with a bunch of motors
no,
around.
shop class, right?
We didn't have in high school. We didn't have wood shop. The last shop class. No, actually, no. I take that back. We had a form of wood shop where they were basically building a little house or a cabin out by the football field, and we had auto shop.
Auto shop.
But all that is gone now. It's all gone.
I mean, I grew up in kind of a rural place with a bunch of guys with big fast cars, so auto shop was really popular. A bunch of mullets in that class.
Our shop classes, I remember, was combined. So there was metal shop, auto shop, wood shop, all in one class, and you would you progress through levels, freshman, sophomore, junior. But
I'm old enough to remember we had a typing class. Did you guys have typing?
Oh yeah,
yeah. I had a wood shop class. And
how much wood could a Belmont?
And we had babysitting class.
Oh, that's crazy!
Really?
A child rearing class, yeah.
Wait a minute. So in your high school, that was high school?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have a nursery or daycare?
We had a daycare, yeah.
I mentioned that to someone. It's like my high school had a daycare for all the teen moms.
Was it a big public school?
It was a big public school for me, yeah. It wasn't a daycare for the teen moms. It was a daycare for adults in the area who wanted to bring their kids to daycare, and we would take care of them.
Ours was specifically for the teen mothers.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
My high school had a little over 2,000 students.
That's a big school.
Yeah, mine had like 500, so we didn't have.
My graduating class was 500.
We had 900. We had 300 a grade, I think.
107.
Wow.
We were one of the 4. There was Bayer, Downey, there was Davis, Davis High, and then Modesto. 4. We had 4 high schools. Now they had 5th when I left. Johansson. Boy, they spent a lot of money on that one.
Yeah, we had one high school for 3 towns.
Tom, where'd you grow up?
Greenville, Illinois.
Okay.
So Pocahontas and Sereno would feed into our high school, but Mulberry Grove didn't want to be part when they consolidated the high schools in the 60s. So Mulberry Grove had their own high school that Keysport went into. Cool
Veronica,
story.
where'd you grow up?
West Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been out here in SF for 12 years. It feels like a very long time now.
But yeah, we had typing, Michael, and I remember after I graduated and before my brother got into school, they changed it to keyboarding.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they were still teaching you the typing skill, but it was all on computers.
I mean, I'm older than you. I'm like in my mid-40s, so I don't know how old you guys are. But we had that, but we also had assembly language. We were actually learning basic and assembly language coding, which I thought was cool.
We had a room full of trash 80s.
Yeah, the trash 80s. With the tape decks?
Yeah.
You had,
but they didn't all have tape decks. So
our typing class, I'm only a few years younger than you, Michael. My typing class was either take typing or computers, and that was a class. So you either took one or the other. If you want to do anything more advanced, you'd have to go to the JC. But you could get high school graduation credits. They would transfer over. So you just I took chemistry there because I hated my chemistry teacher.
I snuck into my junior high office and found the number to their modem. And I went home and tried to dial in on my Apple II Plus. And I actually got in, but I couldn't break into. I was trying to actually find the grades. Never did though.
Someone I know did that.
It's because everyone saw Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, no, we saw War Games.
Yeah.
Remember?
That and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Wasn't it Ferris Bueller? You changed his grade in there.
Well, is Matthew Broderick is the common link between both, but I wanted
Right.
to be Matthew Broderick in War Games, not Ferris Bueller.
Well, War Games is interesting because those machines were old because you could see he pulls out an 8-inch floppy when he war dials all those numbers.
War dials.
Right?
No, I'm just laughing.
Why?
I don't know.
What, you didn't host a BBS
I just like
in your
that.
closet?
I did host a BBS in my bedroom that
That's
took
awesome.
over my home phone line, and I could only use when my parents went to sleep.
Did you have a princess phone?
No.
I'm curious about your BBS. Like, did it have a theme, or is it just like a town, like the one for Stamford, Connecticut, or?
No, it was just a BBS that my boyfriend in high school and I hosted, and you could come and play Muds on.
Muds.
That was it.
But how many people would be on it?
I think at the most we had like 4 or 5
For Mud?
that I remember.
That's enough.
Logged in at a time.
Oh, it's
yeah.
enough. It just seems.
We didn't have a lot of friends.
Hence,
What BBS
hence
did
playing
you
Mud.
host, Roger?
Sorry.
I didn't host a BBS either, though. I did microleague baseball on my Commodore 64. We would play computer baseball leagues all summer long.
Did you do a draft? Our friends would do. We'd hold a draft.
Oh, yeah.
We do
Yeah.
Earl Weaver baseball. and
It
do a draft.
started with a draft, and I wrote a program in Commodore Basic that would take all of the stats from the back of the baseball cards that we drafted off of and create an outcome that would say, well, this team beat this team.
Oh, that's cool.
And then when microleague baseball came around, then we would draft within the program, and the box score stack compiler disk let us create our own teams.
That was the name of my first band, by the way.
Box score stack compiler disks, yeah. They were great. They used to open for 1541, didn't they?
I'm reading all the... Oh, so I guess Westboro Baptist Church has fired back against the Clefairy.
With a Pokeball?
Let's see what happened. Did they actually try to dethrone it?
I'm sure something hates Pokeballs or something.
Let's see. It's unclear on whether or not... Okay. Hold on.
Breaking news, is this happening as we speak?
Yeah, since it's unclear whether or not the Clefairy has remained. It wasn't all powerful. Apparently its combat power was pretty low. Oh, they've taken to social media. Sign of the end times and Jesus Christ soon returning. And this big picture of the Clefairy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything,
all
real
their
or
signs.
virtual, enables proud sin in America. That's a sign of doom. Hashtag Pokemon Go.
They hashtagged it though?
Yes.
Yeah, see, they know what they're doing.
They just want...
They're very savvy people for
they are.
for who they are.
Yeah, so, but what do you do? Because I read a story, and I didn't get a chance to kind of evaluate how valid it was, but there was a guy who lived in a converted church who was saying because it used to be a church, it was marked as a landmark, and all these people were coming into his front yard to catch Pokeballs. And he's like, what do we do about this? He's like, it's fine, but it's a lot of people, and it's all day, and I don't really like it.
Yeah, there's a gym in front of just a house, down the block from me. And that can't be, I was standing in front of their house, and I was like, this is weird.
If they were good as developers, they would have put a complaint mechanism and stop making my house, a gym, and then that would just go away.
Yeah, just something. There's got to be something like that because, I imagine that the initial rush that we're experiencing right now will fade over time.
Hopefully,
but
yeah.
At a certain point, you may want to say you know what, I really don't want people ever.
Can I opt out
my
of this?
backyard.
Yeah.
But it feels like you remember the early days of the Wii. I remember the Rubik's Cube. It feels like it could be one of these things we talk about in 20 years. Do you remember Pokemon Go?
Pokemon Go? Yeah, totally.
Do you remember, what was it, Crystal Pepsi? What was the Pepsi that was clear?
They're bringing Crystal Pepsi back.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Just don't bring new Coke back.
I didn't realize they switched back for the longest time.
To the old recipe? Oh, I did. I love original Coke. Now I just like Mexican Coke, like the stuff in the glass bottles that they sell at Costco.
Yeah, but they're going to start using corn syrup in that too.
That's super disappointing.
Because it's cheaper.
In Mexico. But they're going to make versions with sugar in it to export specifically to the United States.
That's interesting because the Mexican, like people from Mexico hate the taste of corn syrup. That's why they make it. So why would they? That's weird.
They finally acclimatized them to it because of other brands or something, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, sugar is expensive compared to corn syrup.
Yeah, so apparently Crystal Pepsi hit the shelves again July 7th in Canada and is coming August 8th in the U.S.
How come Canada gets everything first?
Yeah, right.
Said no one ever.
Yeah.
They get Celine Dion first.
Bryan Adams.
Adams. Well, it's...
Tim Hortons.
I'm not sure if that's something to be proud of.
Hockey players.
Yeah, you can tell how old I am that I went to Bryan Adams and not Justin Bieber as a cultural reference.
Yeah, that was good.
It was the summer of '69, if I remember.
Anyone know what's that Canadian band with Gordon Downey?
Tragically Hip.
Tragically Hip. That's the quintessential Canada band right there.
There you go. All right, well, that is it for us. Yeah, thanks again, Michael. It was great having you on. Come back soon, please.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. See y'all tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye.